y'all, I'm Kasey Stone with Clerestory Design. Today we are at the Fowle House here in Little Washington, North Carolina, and we are still working on our kitchen cabinets. So we are working on details like crown molding and trim pieces, and we're gonna turn our attention to the breakfast room where there is a wet bar in there. So let's go inside and get started. Good morning. We have moved out to the breakfast room, back door area, and we are working on this wet bar. We have just a standard 24-inch cabinet, a small sink cabinet, then we'll have a wine bar and then an end panel. So right now we're figuring out, measuring all of the plumbing, just like we did in the kitchen, to get all the plumbing up into this cabinet. And then we're gonna do two glass front cabinets up top. And so we're debating whether those should be flush up against the window. I personally like them with just a little bit of space between the window and the cabinet, so you see just a little bit of green. So we are moving on with the wet bar. So the cabinets are gonna go flush up against this wall, but of course the wall has siding on it, and that would either give us a gap where these pieces are slanted, or we'd have to cut almost like a saw blade type cut on the back. So what we've decided to do is remove the siding behind the cabinet, replace it with a 1x or a plywood, so that we will have something flush that cabinet can butt right up to. So we have cut all that siding off, and now we're gonna go back and put it back in place, but flush, not angled, so that the cabinet will fit snug to the wall. And now we play the game of what is it gonna take to get it level and get it plumb. So I showed you there was some debate whether the cabinet should go up against the window or if there should be a little bit. I was honestly thinking about 2 or 3 inches, but we didn't want it to overhang on this side. So what we decided to do was get this end flush, because the sink is centered with the window, but it's not centered in this cabinet. So that took us about 1.5 inches off the window. And Gio is getting the last little piece over here, and we will set this cabinet, and then we'll be good to go. All right, both cabinets are up, and while I was talking to y'all, I said something that got me thinking. I said that the sink is centered, but not in the cabinet. It's centered with the window. That may look strange. So I told you we put this cabinet flush with the end of this one. So our next thing is a 19-inch wine cooler, and then an end panel like you put at the end of a refrigerator, which is going to make this hang over a little bit, because an end panel, I'll show you one right here, an end panel is only 3 inches. So that, if I'm doing my math correctly, is 22. And this is in line at 24. So I think we need to do a 2-inch filler right here, so that this whole space ends up also being 24 inches, which is going to make the sink not only centered with the window, but centered in this whole cabinet, and this cabinet will line up with the edge of that. So, good morning. We were in the Fowle House kitchen. So I told you that we were going to start working on trim details, and that is what we're gonna do. We are ready to rock this crown molding. However, we have found a little snag. Seems like we've had a lot of little snags. So we've got an issue. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show it to you, but really quickly, let's talk about, I'm just noticing this cabinet finish with this brick. It looks so good, so good. Early on, the homeowners were thinking about taking this brick chimney out, and I'm so glad they kept it. It just gives this little pop of character and speaks to the historical elements of this room. Okay, Let me show you the problem and tell you how we're gonna fix it. Our problem is with this refrigerator panel. It's an end panel so that you're not looking at the side of the fridge. This is where we stood. This is where I sat while they installed all of this. And it looks beautiful. And then one day I was over here late in the evening and the sun was setting out these windows. And it was a lot like how this light is shining on it now. And this edge right here, you see this? It looks absolutely horrible. Horrible. So I'm like, what is that? Is it dirty? It is not dirty. Somehow there is some texture in the finish, just right here, right at the most prominent spot. It looks horrible. Imagine when you get under counter lighting, it's gonna look even worse. So that is not going to fly. Now, these are Wellborn Forest cabinets. Wellborn Forest is great quality. Honestly, I'm surprised that made it through the factory. And you can see why. It got installed before we even noticed it. So unless the light hits it just right, nobody was gonna see it in the factory. But they are going to help us fix the problem. Is rush ordering this panel a replacement. Now, all that is this 8-foot panel, floor to ceiling, just this width. So this is screwed in and this is screwed in. So we're just talking about one panel. So Jesus and Gio have been studying this and they think that if we unscrew strategically, say that 3 times fast, here and down here, we can just slide that out like a record from an album sleeve, an album cover, and then slide a new one in and screw it where it needs to go. So that's our plan. That may take a couple of weeks to get that piece. All of our little details are coming along. We've gotten the crown up in places. So we are still waiting on this piece. Remember I told you it came in with a bad finish. I don't know, it's weird. Only certain times of day can you see right in that area. So as soon as that gets in, we'll change that out. We'll get the crown up there. But I love how it looks right here. Let me show you Jesus's handiwork. I love, this is his attention to detail. The way that crown had to get notched into that window. So it just slides right into that window trim. These are great. We are doing glass shelves here. Have I told y'all that? Not glass shelves. Glass is going in these doors, but the homeowner decided they wanted to keep the wooden shelves. But one thing we are absolutely gonna do is move them in line with these mullions. It'll look so much cleaner when those shelves are set so you don't get this double line. So I have to order glass for those, but I have learned the hard way. Don't order glass till you're ready to install the glass. So the last thing you want is glass just sitting around because that's just asking to get broken. There's also gonna be glass up here. You may be wondering, what is this ripped 2x4 up there? So here you can see we have that crown, but the crown just sits on the top and there's nothing for it to rest on. So we rip down a little piece of 2x4 and then the crown actually butts up to that. So it's like a backboard or a stand for that crown. And then it's completely covered up, of course, when you get that crown in place. So my guys are like little elves. Sometimes they come late in the night and work on projects when there's nobody here to see them. And that's exactly what happened here. So it has been about 3 weeks since we discovered that panel was not good quality. And the guys came over, so I didn't get footage, but they did exactly what we thought we were gonna do, which was take the screws out that connected the old panel to this cabinet, and that one. And thankfully it slid out without much trouble and slid in without too much trouble and was put back in place. And this one is so much better. It is as smooth as can be. So first quality there, it's put back in place. And we have got our crown. Here's our crown right here. We needed a little bit more crown. We've now got enough to run that all the way around, and that will be finished. Also this week, we had the templates done for our countertops. So any day now, I expect our tops to be in, and you know I will be here to film that. A beautiful quartz that has just a little bit of metallic, almost like a diamond dust in it. So you're going to love it. It's a little bit glam. So that's a wrap on a lot of little details in the kitchen. Hopefully next week we will have countertops going in, and we're going to turn our attention back outside, take advantage of some of this beautiful weather. All right, y'all, that's a wrap on another week of kitchen cabinet installation. We are so close to being done. Once we get all the final little details worked out, then we are going to start working on countertops and then backsplash, and then we will really, really be on a roll. So make sure that you're subscribing so that you don't miss a step in the Fowle House renovation, and come back soon.